love it. So I guess, you know, we talked two of your babies. Let's talk your third baby, which is the Four Chord Music Festival. Just had year number 7. Like, I don't want to talk year 7. I want to talk year 1.
Oh,
tell me about year 1. Like, because when you start a big endeavor like that, like a festival, it's so like scary. So tell me about some of those fears and you know, all those things that were playing in your mind that you're like, well, this can go terribly wrong. We might get sued. Like, this is going to be a nightmare. Tell me about that and how you still like pulled it off.
Yeah. I mean, you know, started in my 20s, and ultimately Four Chord Music Festival gave birth to Four Chord Music. So Four Chord Music Festival is a great platform to, and it's growing, and there's stuff that I'm doing for Four Chord Music Festival 8 that is going to really make it grow. So it's good leverage point for some bands too. But year 1, the most fun, man. The most fun when you have no fucking idea what's going to happen. You have no idea what's going to happen next. Like, that's what sucks about getting older, by the way. It's not the getting older part. It's the fact that nothing feels new anymore. You have an opinion about everything. You've tried something, or at least something tangentially related to everything. So year 1, I was sick of tours passing on us. We'd submitted to tons of tours, and, you know, again, the close call thing. And so I was like, fuck it, we're just going to do something in Pittsburgh. It was used to be at a 1,200 cap venue in Pittsburgh. Year 1 was the Wonder Years headlined. Real Friends, Modern Baseball, Turnover, We Are the Union, Rust Belt Lights, and then at the time we were still called the Space Pimps. So, and I remember, this is 2015. Turnover was not what Turnover is today. Modern Baseball was not what they were today, and Real Friends were not what they are today. So the big band, obviously the huge band then was the Wonder Years that did that. And it was weird, you know. I didn't know much, you know, in terms of like the fine print, right? So like my best friend from high school happens to be a lawyer, so he helped a lot. You know, we reviewed contracts, and I remember I was so nervous about getting these contracts and missing something. We spent 14 hours reading over an 8-page contract, marking it up, and we sent it back to the agents for the Wonder Years, and they were like, yo, like, nobody ever reads these contracts. Nobody ever marks this stuff up. Ended up going okay. A girl did fall on her head and was unconscious for a little bit, and I thought I was going to get sued, but we didn't get sued. And then I realized, oh, you should buy insurance, right, in case something happens. So year 2, we got insurance. But yeah, first year is real fun, man. You're flying by the seat of your pants. It was, you know, it was packed. It was sweaty. It was everything you think about in a festival. But again, it was at a club. So there was a tiny stage in the back of the venue we built with our hands, and then the stage in the actual venue that is stationary. So it's always fun the first time. First kiss is great. First time you drive a car with nobody in the car with you but yourself is great. And the first time you almost get sued at a music festival is the greatest.
Listen, so I'm gonna zoom it up to 4 Chord 7, right? So, I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this 1,000 times, but I can't not ask it. How do you book Blink-182?
Well, first of all,
yeah, right.
Yeah, Blink changed my life. Changed my life unequivocally.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I remember the moment that I stole my sister's Dude Ranch CD when I was in 4th grade. I mean, I remember. I mean, it just changed. I can't even articulate or put into words. Like, that's why, like, I was like, oh, when I meet Mark, like, I don't even know what I'm gonna say if I were to meet Mark, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just really gotten more. I gotta say, if you ask a lot of these agents that represent these bands, they know me as the dude that's never gonna stop. You know, and like, for better or for worse, I'm like, I don't care if they don't like me. I don't know. I just have lost this sense of like, oh my God, I hope they like me type mentality. Yeah. And I think that a lot of the agents respect that, and a lot of them just want me to fuck off. But it just so happens that in 2019 we had The Offspring. Well, I mean me. It's only me. The Offspring and Simple Plan, and the agency that represents The Offspring also represents Blink, as well as Taylor Swift and Fall Out Boy and a million others. But and so that went okay. And then the following year, I just hit up their agent. I'm like, yo, I'm going to email you every day or call your office every day. And this is the president of this agency. I mean, he's I don't know if there's a more important person in the touring side in the entire music industry than this person.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not going to stop calling your assistant or you every day until you give me a shot at Blink. He gave me a shot and he said, you know, you better make sure that this goes well. And there's a lot of pressure. And of course, pandemic hit, we had to push it back. And then obviously Mark got cancer and which, praise Jesus, he's doing better.
He is,
but
sure.
they canceled all their 2021 tour dates. I was obviously devastated. I put my life savings and everything you could possibly think of into the show, but worked out okay. And that's how it happens. It's again, if you don't have a connection, it's about grind. Everything I do in life is about grind. Every single thing. So that's how Blink happened and then didn't happen.
But I mean, and it's like, you know, maybe they're not ultimately on the level of Blink, but I mean, you know, you got Rise Against to fill in, who are by no means no slouches. I mean, they're an enormous band too. But I mean, when you look at that festival lineup, you know, it's like, it really is astounding. And then, like, you know, just looking at the pictures of it and the enormity of it all, and, you know, you guys taking over a whole baseball stadium. I mean, it's just like, you know, talking about episode 1 to episode 7, and then whatever is coming for episode 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, how do you stay humble?
well, I mean, there's a million people involved, obviously. I mean, Four Chord Music and Four Chord Music Festival is just me. But I mean, obviously there's sound and lighting people that I've hired that, you know, killed it. And I mean, I don't know. It's not a big deal to me at this point. I'm not, how do I say that? That sounds incredibly egotistical. I don't mean it in the sense that, like, it's not a big deal that it's more like, yo, like, cool. This year was fucking awesome. I had, looking back on it, like when I'm by myself, I'll reflect on it and you know, I'll shed a tear and say, dude, like, I don't know how this happened during a worldwide pandemic. There was no super spreader event issues. There was no, like, all of that stuff is great. But you know, literally the day after the festival ended, I was on the phone with agents for the next year. I like to think I'm humble, but I just want to do more. I just want to do better. I want to make it better for people that were there. I want to, you know, improve on the things that didn't go great, you know, on the back end. But it's definitely difficult. I mean, you can ask my friends and my wife, and you know, it is a full-time job. I mean, without question. And when I look back at that comp video and I look back at the pictures, dude, I mean, it leaves you speechless. It takes your breath away, knowing that where it started and where it's at, you know. Maybe I should do a TikTok where it's like, this is where it started and now here's where we're at. But
go for it.
I wish I had a better answer. I mean, it's easy to stay humble whenever you're constantly grinding. That's a good answer.
Sure.
Now, since it sounds like you and I have similar personalities, you know, you played Warped Tour.
Yep, many times.
Warped Tour doesn't exist now. Like, there's that void. There is a void where there's not like a traveling festival. That must have come into your mind, right?
It did. But here's a better question for both of you. Does Warped Tour, can and should Warped Tour ever be replaced?
That's a tough question.
And I have an opinion on that. I mean,
well,
I think,
you know, when you think about it, like at the core of Warped Tour, you got your you know, Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake's, like those are the staples. But it sounds like you've built your own version of that now with Four Chord. Like you know, you mentioned Keep Flying. Like you could have replaced Keep Flying years ago, but the fact that you've stayed loyal to them, like Keep Flying is now just like, you know, they're on the up. And like, you know, who knows if you take this festival another 5 years, like Keep Flying could be at that level of like a Less Than Jake or a Real Big Fish. Who knows? Like,
yeah. I mean,
it'd be around that.
It would be sick. I mean, you know, I just feel like personally, again, I was that kid that was at Warped Tour every single year. I mean, without question, I was there. I didn't miss one Warped Tour. Obviously, we play. Spaceman's played a lot of them. Eternal Boy played the last Warped Tours. But I just feel like there's something so special about Warped Tour that it's like almost trying to cover a song by Blink when you're a pop punk band. You know, it's like it's like, unless it's like for a tribute record or like you're doing something totally different, like you don't cover the band in your genre. It's like, I don't know if I'd ever want to be a Warped Tour. Like Kevin Lyman created something that was so special. Like let's do something special in a different way, maybe. But but to your question, unequivocally, yes, it has crossed my mind. Yeah, without question.
Like, you know, me in North Carolina, I'm always super jealous when I see the lineup come out, and I'm like, that's like 10, 12 hours away.
Dude,
that's a little too
you
far.
guys are both coming to 2022. We'll take care of you. I'll give you beers. I'll give you hot dogs, and it will be a great time.
You had Tom at hot dog.
You had me at hot dogs, man. You did. and you know what? And the truth of it is, it's just like the fact that there are still people that are willing to take on the enormity of what that is such an important thing for our music scene, right? Because not only did, and this is the point I was going to make, is not only did Warped Tour leave a hole for artists and of course and left a hole for fans, but it left a hole like in the scene itself, because it was like, I hate to take a line from a Blink-182 song, but I mean, you know, like you couldn't wait for the summer at the Warped Tour. Like you couldn't. Like it was just like, you know, every year, you know, you'd get out of school, at least we would in Long Island at the end of June. It was just like, oh, sick, Warped Tour's coming in a couple of weeks.
Hold on. Tom just said in Long Island. I just had to interrupt him.
Did I say in Long Island?
Jones Beach.
I'm going to take your Long Island cool card away because you just said in Long Island.
As opposed to what?
On Long Island.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I'm always getting called out, but that's okay. It's okay. But but essentially, just at the end of it, the point that I'm really trying to make is like, you know, if it isn't for people like you who are willing to take on this responsibility, and not only that, but take on a responsibility in a space that's safe, in a scene that like is unfortunately perpetually unsafe at times. And that's one of the things about Warped Tour that unfortunately it was so big and so enormous that Kevin Lyman couldn't have controlled it at all times and make sure that these spaces were safe. And you know, you hear the unfortunate stories about, you know, the grooming and the, you know, unprofessionalism and the I'm not going to harp on it, but you know, like the bad things that come out of that, right? So knowing that there are people that are not only committed to creating a space that, you know, enriches music and allows people to go see some of their favorite artists, but to do so in a safe way is super important. So the fact that you're able to cultivate that over these years, and I think of other festivals like, you know, the Fest in Gainesville, and I forget the name of it. There's one up in Toronto that they do all the time. You know, it's incredible. You know, so
Pouzza Fest.
Yeah, that's in Montreal.
Yep.
But there's another one.
I'm
thinking it's like a more pop punk one in Toronto. I can't think of it, but nonetheless, it's just that kind of stuff is incredible, and it needs to stick around in the absence of things like Bamboozle and Skate and Surf and, you know, Warped Tour and all that kind of stuff that, you know, was around when pop punk was enormous, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you bring up the safe space issue, and that's certainly something that is, you know, really, really important to me. I mean, it's obviously very hard at times to control. I mean, anytime growth happens, it's very hard to micromanage every growth spurt. But the, you know, for example, we have a ton of nonprofits at the event that help, I don't want to say keep us in check, but keep everybody involved in check. You know, there can't be any bullshit at Four Chord Music Fest. If there's any bullshit, I'm tapping you on the shoulder. I'm kicking you the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like there's no room for that. And that's what punk rock really is to me, right? It's about like standing up for those that can't really stand up for themselves.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
So war, I mean, Kevin really had a lot on his shoulders. I mean, you know, you're talking about doing a 15 to 25,000 person show for what, 70 days, 60 days. To manage that, you have to start leaning on other people and other things and other mechanisms. I fear that day when that comes. But you know, I can certainly see that perspective of it. Yeah,
for sure. And then the one last thing I want to ask, and then we'll take a quick break and shoot to our sponsor over here, DraftKings, and then we'll just get into hockey talk. But
yes,
I'm just curious, as you know, the size of this festival and what it's become, and the fact that Eternal Boy plays it. Like, what, like, are you able to block out that like 30 or 40 minute set and actually enjoy it? Or while you're up there, are you just like, what the hell's going on? Like, is this happening? Is this going on time? Like, are you able to separate that little chunk of time to enjoy the crowd and enjoy what you're doing and not be like freaking out? Very,
very nice question to ask. Most people don't ask that. I really appreciate that. Most of the time I do. This year I did not, just because of COVID. You know, we were testing almost every person that came through the venue. I mean, we had testing up front. I mean, there were so many. I mean, the footprint of the festival was, you know, you needed a golf cart to get around. I mean, there was a lot of things on my mind that day. Generally, I mean, 2019, I had the best time of my life almost at any show. Generally, I can do that. It's a lot of people on the back end, like a lot of the tour managers for the bands, ask that to me, and I enjoy it. I also enjoy seeing all of my friends succeeding and people loving them too. You know, I like seeing Keep Flying go over super well every year. Like, makes me stoked. Our boys Patent Pending, like our best friends from Long Island, like seeing how well Joe can just take a crowd over no matter where he is. We've toured with them in Europe. I mean, he does it every fucking night. Like, to see it in my hometown, like with my people and our, you know, I don't want to say my community, but like the community of the Pittsburgh music scene is enough for me to have a great time. But it's definitely 75% stress.
I can imagine. I mean, excellent. So,
but you guys have to come out. You guys have to come out next year if it's safe and it's not, obviously, if COVID's not, you know, something that prohibits travel or you don't feel comfortable with. I understand, but you guys got to make it out.
So I'm not going to ask the lineup question because I know you can't say anything. But do you have like a window in time? What like? I'm
an open book, dude. I'll tell. I sign no NDAs. I make sure I don't sign any NDAs. Oh man, I can't believe I'm talking about this. It's in my brain so much, and like I work on it so much, and it just so happens that this podcast landed like 2 hours before conversations and everything happened. So Blink is not going to play this year. Again, just I didn't feel comfortable putting the full court press on them, given what Mark is going through, and you know, so it's not them. You know, it's the lineup I think that I'm curating is going to be super cool. It's going to have a good amount of throwback for people that loved, you know, early 2000s, and it's going to certainly have the new flavor for people. And that's always what I want to do. I want to suffice my inner. If I'm not doing it partly for me, then why am I doing it? Which is the early 2000s shit. And then it's also, again, there's going to be a lot of new stuff that people like. But off the air, I will tell you guys some more.
Okay.
Love to hear that.
Are you thinking late summer, early summer?
September 10th.
Okay.
And maybe 9th. Both.
Okay. Love to hear that. So I'm going to put that on my calendar.
Do it.
Just because of the hot dogs. Everything else, that's all icing on the cake. But
nothing like Pittsburgh hot dogs compared to New York hot dogs, right?
Hell yeah, let's do it.